Hey everyone, how you doing? It's a beautiful day today. It kind of feels like a weird day to talk about the subject that I'm going to talk about, which is grief. And by grief, I don't mean a loss of a loved one. That's kind of a different sense of grief, but more a grief of better times, loss of times. Be that, thinking and grieving what might have been if you'd had a diagnosis of ADHD sooner. Your identity, grief for that, in terms of if you've had a career break and you can't get back in, you sort of feel as if you've lost that job title, and that job title is your identity. There's the whole sort of nostalgia thing, which actually has changed through the centuries of what it means. Nostalgia today is sort of looking back on happier times, whereas actually in I think it was the 1760s, it was a phrase, well, not even a phrase, it was a medical condition where soldiers, it was actually, I think, Swiss soldiers, mercenaries, sort of had this terrible malaise and shell shock because they were sort of too busy running around the world rather than being at home, and they sort of missed their alpine life, and it became so severe that they that longing, that sort of mental longing, had physical impacts. Like people became mute and all sorts of stuff, and there was some horrible, you can imagine, cures back in the day, in the 18th century. But anyway, it's kind of like, it's almost kind of moving back to that nostalgia, and that grief is starting to sort of impact our health. I think part of the sort of massive rise in mental health issues has something to do with us sort of feeling ungrounded in life. The fear of what technology and AI might do to our jobs. The world's on fire and we can't seem to be able to do anything about it. A loss of faith in politics, and a sort of leaning to the right, which is, really distressing. The fact that our children, what sort of world will they live in with a climate crisis, and all of this stuff weighs down on us all. But it doesn't have to be all about negativity. We're a powerful bunch of people. We make the decisions. So it's not about just leaning towards somebody who's giving us false hope, like the far right, who sort of say yes, or the MAGA people of Trump's world. It's actually, with AI and quantum computing, the world will change significantly, and if we get on it, we can make the world a better place in terms of quite utopian, because the impact of quantum computing will just shortcut so many things, and we'd be able to have individualized healthcare that would potentially eradicate Alzheimer's, cancer. They're already doing Huntington's disease. So that not having a horrible death, or not suffering, would be an amazing boost. And all the optimization in terms of production and production lines, and materials, and there'll be all sorts of gains to be made from that. And the trick is like, we can't let it just be the tech bros. We need to sort of make a significant change in terms of how the world is set up, in terms of universal basic incomes, and then what that would unlock in countries that have tested it, like Finland and the UAE. Their population have done nothing but flourish. So it doesn't have to be that way, but we can't just sit and be dismayed or cry in front of the telly when we see what's happening in Gaza. We've got to rise up. We've got to do something, and we've got to do something in a positive way, not in a negative, ragey way, but more in a resolve resilient way, as opposed to, you know, being violent outside, migrant houses and that sort of stuff. That they're suffering. To make that journey was unspeakable bravery, and all they want to do is make for a better life, and they can do it here. We can work together to do it. It's not just about, well, we've got limited resources, so we can't. Don't believe it. Really don't believe it. There's so much wealth in this country. We just need to think about how we redistribute it. Anyway, I think the future's bright. It could be, but we've got to act. So, get up, do something, get involved, join local teams, local community action. Come and join us at the 7th Tribe in our social imagination project, or just do something, please, because otherwise there'll be a lot of grieving, and I don't want that. Anyway, see you later.